My family disowned me on my birthday. Incredibly, they now want to claim my new home as a shared family asset. You know that moment when your entire life, everything you thought was real, just shatters? And you're left standing there, completely bewildered, wondering how the people who were supposed to love you most could possibly do something so unbelievably cruel? The air that day had this weird, heavy stillness to it, like the world was holding its breath. It was my 28th birthday, a day I'd actually, foolishly, been looking forward to, and I was driving home, picturing a simple cake, maybe a movie, just a quiet evening with my family. But then I pulled into the driveway, and my gut dropped faster than an elevator cable cut loose. Everything I owned, my entire life, was scattered across the front lawn like trash. Okay, so before that day, my life was complicated. I'm Caleb, and up until that point, I was living with my parents, Brenda and Arthur, and my younger brother, Noah, in this old house. It was run down, always smelled faintly like something had died in the walls, and stuff was constantly breaking. But, it was home. Or at least, that's what I kept telling myself. I work at a distribution warehouse. It's not glamorous, no one's impressed at parties, but it pays the bills, and I'm damn good at it. The problem was my mom, Brenda, she never saw it that way. Every single time I walked through that door after a shift, like clockwork, she'd hit me with it. When are you going to get a real job, Caleb? Didn't matter if I just pulled a 12-hour shift, still covered in dust, or had spent my only day off fixing something around the house. It was always the same line. What did she even mean by a real job? I was the one paying half the bills, buying the groceries. When the water heater exploded last winter, I paid for the replacement. The porch railing about to collapse? I fixed it on a Saturday morning while everyone else slept in. Kitchen sink backed up, cabinet flooded? I was under there with a wrench at 11 at night, while Noah sat in the next room watching videos on his phone. But none of that counted, apparently, because I wasn't a doctor or a lawyer or whatever she considered real. And when I tried to push back, she'd just wave her hand. If it was a real job, you'd have your own place by now. As if she wasn't benefiting from me staying, as if the bills would magically pay themselves. Then there was Noah, my brother. He's 26, but he acts like he's 17. Seriously, this kid has never, ever lifted a finger around that house. Never paid a bill, never bought groceries. I honestly don't think he even knows where the grocery store is. He just existed. Taking up space, eating food I paid for, using hot water I was covering the bill on. He'd walk past me in the hallway like I worked for him. And that attitude, he thinks he's better than everyone, and I still have no idea where it came from. He'd just strut around like he was some celebrity doing us all a favor, making these little jabs when I was doing something productive. Must be nice having nothing better to do, he'd sneer, before retreating to his room to measure his self-worth by social media followers. Once, he told me to my face I was irrelevant because I didn't post online. I was holding 2 grocery bags when he said it. Bags I paid for. Food he'd be eating in about an hour. Yeah, I was the irrelevant one. My dad, Arthur, was basically a ghost. He was there, but he wasn't there. He'd work when he worked, come home, sit in his chair. If Brenda said something cutting at dinner, he'd just keep eating. If Noah made fun of me, he'd stare at the TV. I stopped expecting anything from him years ago. Just accepted he wasn't going to stand up for me. So, my 28th birthday was approaching, and I know this sounds dumb, but I was actually looking forward to it. I'd saved up, bought myself a fancy cake from this bakery downtown. Nothing crazy, just the 4 of us. Cake, maybe a movie. I don't even know why I expected anything. Looking back, the signs were everywhere. But when it's your family, you just keep making excuses for them. You keep thinking, this time will be different. It's never different. A few days before, I sat down with Brenda and Arthur in the kitchen, told them I was hoping we could do something small. Brenda didn't even look up from her magazine. We'll see. We might have plans. Plans. On my birthday. I should have known right then, but I didn't want to believe it. These were my parents. Of course, they'd be around. Fast forward to the actual day. I went to work, had a decent shift. Got some happy birthday texts from coworkers, which was nice. Even old Stanley, who barely talks to anyone, came up and shook my hand. Happy birthday, kid. That one actually meant something. I even treated myself to a new pair of shoes on my lunch break, nothing expensive, just some clean white ones I'd been eyeing. Felt like a little gift to myself. I was in a good mood. Genuinely good. I drove home, thinking maybe they'd have something waiting. Not a party, I wasn't delusional, but a card. Maybe the cake I bought, sitting on the counter with some candles. Anything that said, "We see you and today matters." Then I pulled into the driveway, and that's when my stomach just plummeted. All my stuff was on the front lawn. Boxes, garbage bags, my clothes, my books, random things from my bedroom just tossed out there like it was trash day, and I was what they were getting rid of. For a split second, I actually thought we'd been robbed. That's how my brain tried to make sense of it, because the real explanation was too insane to consider. But then I saw them. Brenda, Arthur, Noah, all three of them. Standing on the porch, lined up, just staring at me. Nobody said a word. Nobody moved. They were just standing there. Like they'd been waiting, like this was planned and rehearsed, and they were ready for their moment. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. What's going on? My voice was shaking, and I hated it. Brenda stepped forward, her face completely flat, zero emotion. Caleb, it's time for you to move out. You're not welcome here anymore. I just stood there, frozen. My brain was buffering, you know? Like when you can see the words, but nothing connects. I looked at Arthur, desperate, hoping he'd do something, anything. He just stared at the ground, hands in his pockets. Wouldn't look at me. Wouldn't even lift his head. But, it's my birthday, I whispered, hating how my voice cracked. Where am I supposed to go? It made me sound like I was begging. And I wasn't trying to beg. I just wanted someone to explain. Noah stepped up. That smirk. Always that smirk. Maybe you should have thought about that before being such a burden all these years. Burden. I've been called a lot of things, but that one, from the guy who has literally never paid for anything in that house, that one hit differently. I looked at Brenda one last time, begging with my eyes for something. An explanation. An apology. Anything. It wasn't enough, she said, her voice sharp, like a door slamming shut. We need the space, and frankly, you need to grow up. That was it. Happy birthday to me. I asked if I could at least grab my things, and she just gestured at the lawn, like she was pointing out where the trash goes on collection day. It's all there. You should go now. Like I was a delivery guy who'd overstayed. Not her son. Not the kid who'd been holding that household together with duct tape and his paycheck for years. My hands were shaking bad as I started loading boxes into my car, my jaw clenched so tight my teeth hurt. I wanted to yell. I wanted to throw one of those boxes through the front window and watch all three of them flinch. But I didn't. I just kept moving. One box, then another, then a garbage bag of clothes ripping at the bottom, then my books in a cardboard box that smelled exactly like the basement, mildew and old carpet. And for some reason, that specific smell, that's what almost broke me. Not their words, not the betrayal. The smell of a cardboard box. Brains are weird, man. Not one of them moved. Not one word. 3 people standing right there, watching me load my entire life into my car, and nobody did a thing. When I got the last box in, I turned around one more time. That dumb, stubborn part of me, still hoping someone would crack. That Arthur would step forward and say, "Wait, come back inside. This isn't right. Why today? Why your birthday?" Brenda looked right through me. "Consider it our gift to you. Independence." And that was it. I got in my car, pulled out of the driveway, watched the house get smaller in the rearview mirror until I turned the corner, and it was gone. I drove to some cheap motel on the edge of town. One of those places with a flickering sign and a parking lot full of cars that all look like they've given up. Paid for one night, because that's all my brain could handle. Just get through tonight, figure out tomorrow when it comes. I sat on the bed with my boxes stacked against the wall and just sat there. The room smelled awful, like old carpet and that fake lavender air freshener they used to cover up whatever the room actually smells like. The TV was bolted to the wall, and the remote barely worked. I pressed one button and some infomercial for a vacuum cleaner came on. I watched the whole 20 minutes without seeing any of it. A vacuum cleaner. On my 28th birthday. In a motel that smelled like fake lavender. I checked my phone at some point and saw the happy birthday texts from earlier. Coworkers, a couple old friends. And nothing from my family. Not one text. Not even a hey, also we changed the locks or whatever. Just nothing. From the 3 people who were supposed to matter the most. That night, I made a promise to myself. I was done. Done relying on them. Done waiting for them to see me. Whatever came next, good or bad, I was handling it on my own. The next morning, I went to work like nothing happened. Didn't tell a soul. Just clocked in, moved boxes, scanned stuff, did my job. My boss, Marcus, this dude's been running the warehouse for like 15 years, barely smiles, says what he means, and that's it. He picked up on something being wrong within the first week. I was there constantly. Staying late, showing up early, grabbing every shift nobody else wanted. Overnights? I'll do it. Saturday doubles? Sure. Holiday coverage? Sign me up, man. I don't care. Whatever kept my brain occupied and money coming in. Marcus pulled me aside one evening near the loading dock after everybody else had left. Leaned against a stack of pallets and looked at me like he was trying to read a book with half the pages missing. You trying to set some kind of record, or are you sleeping here now? I didn't want to get into it, but the second he asked, it just spilled out. I told him the whole thing. The birthday, the lawn, the motel, all of it. Marcus just listened. Didn't interrupt. Didn't give me some inspirational speech. When I was done, he scratched his jaw for a second. He does this thing where he rubs the side of his face when he's thinking, and said, I got a buddy who rents out a room month to month. Nothing fancy, but it's clean. You want me to make a call? 2 days later, I moved in. Small room in this older guy's house on the south side. The bed was a twin that squeaked every time you rolled over. The closet barely fit half my clothes. The bathroom was down the hall and had this loud exhaust fan that kicked on automatically whenever you hit the light switch. Scared me half to death the first time at 3 in the morning. But it was warm. It was quiet. And nobody was going to show up and tell me to leave. I threw myself into it harder than I've ever worked at anything in my life. Every shift, every overtime block they posted, I put my name on it. Started picking up stuff on the side, too. Helped a buddy's moving company on Saturdays, hauling furniture up and downstairs for like 8 hours straight. Then did delivery runs through an app on my phone at night whenever I had the energy left. I was barely spending anything. I'm talking rice and eggs most nights, and that was fine. Didn't need anything fancy. Didn't need anything at all, really. I just needed the number in my bank account to keep going up. And I needed my brain to stay occupied because the second I had nothing to do, it would go straight back to that driveway. Brenda's flat face. Noah and his stupid smirk. Arthur standing there like a piece of furniture. Nah, keep moving. Don't stop. There were nights, though, in that rented room with the squeaky bed and the crack in the ceiling that looked like a lightning bolt, 2 in the morning, just lying there staring at it, wondering if they'd call. If they'd wake up one day and realize what they did was wrong. If there'd be an apology or even just, I don't know, a text that said, hey, we went too far. Anything. Phone never rang, though. Not once. Weeks went by, then months. Nothing. My friend Julian, we've been close since college, he went on to become a lawyer. He called me one night to catch up, and I ended up telling him everything. He was furious. Said he'd never heard of parents doing something like that to their own kid. Then he said something that stuck in my brain and never left. You know what would really get under their skin? You doing better than you ever did when you were living with them. I laughed, but the idea took root and wouldn't let go. So that became the whole mission. Work harder, save more, build something they can't touch. Months went by, head down, just grinding. Marcus started handing me more responsibility, scheduling crews, managing inventory, breaking in the new guys. Then one afternoon, about 8 months after the birthday thing, he waved me into his office. Little room in the back that always smells like old coffee and cardboard. Told me he was bumping me up to operations lead. Real title change, real raise. I sat there trying to keep my face normal, because I could feel my eyes doing that thing where they get hot, and you're like, no, 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 not here. It wasn't even about the money, really. I mean, the money was great. But it was more like somebody finally looked at everything I'd been doing. All those late nights, all those shifts nobody wanted. All the times I showed up when everybody else called in. And somebody said out loud that it mattered. That I mattered. First time in years anyone had told me that. Actually, back up. I forgot to mention this part. About 3 months after I got kicked out, Noah called me. Out of nowhere. First time any of them reached out since the birthday. And his voice was weird. Quieter. None of that smug garbage he usually pulled. He said Arthur lost his job. Brenda was spending money like it grew on trees. He couldn't afford school. Basically, the whole house was falling apart financially, and he didn't know what to do. That was it. That was the reason for the call. Not, hey, Caleb, sorry we destroyed your birthday and threw you out. Not, hey man, are you okay? Where are you even living? He called because the money ran out and they needed someone to squeeze. Simple as that. I sat there for a second, processing it. And look, part of me, this dumb, stubborn part that I really wish would just shut up sometimes, still felt bad for them. They're my family, right? That pull doesn't go away just because people treat you bad. It's still in there somewhere. You just get better at not listening to it. So, let me get this straight. My voice was probably sharper than I meant it to be. You're calling me after months of nothing because you need money? He tried spinning it. Oh, it's not just about the money, Caleb. We're all in a rough spot. Dad's struggling. Mom's out of control with the spending. Bills everywhere. My tuition's overdue. The whole sad story. Sounds like a you problem, Noah. Pause. Then he played the card. Come on, man. We're family, bro. Come on. Family doesn't throw your stuff on the lawn on your birthday, dude. Family doesn't stand there and watch while you load your car by yourself. You guys made it real clear where I stand. Dead silence. Nothing. And honestly, that silence said more than any words would have. Don't call me again. I hung up, set the phone on the desk, and just stared at it. My hands were shaking, but underneath that, there was something I wasn't expecting. Relief. That was the first time I'd ever told any of them no and actually meant it. First time I didn't fold because somebody pulled the family card on me. Between the promotion and all the side work, I finally saved up enough to buy my own place. Took a couple more months of grinding after the raise, but I got there. 2-bedroom apartment in a decent area. Clean building, quiet neighbors, this little balcony off the living room that looks out at a parking lot, but whatever. It's a balcony and it's mine. Bought all my own furniture over like 3 weekends of driving around to secondhand places, comparing prices. Found this one couch at a thrift store that looked terrible, but ended up being the most comfortable thing I've ever sat on. Still have it. My kitchen, where I can leave dishes overnight and nobody says a word. My fridge with my food that nobody else touches. First night in the new place, I ordered a pizza and ate the entire thing sitting on the floor because my dining table hadn't shown up yet. Had the pizza box on my lap, watching some nature documentary about wolves on my phone propped against a shoe because I didn't have a TV stand either. The apartment still smelled like fresh paint. And the bathroom echoed because I hadn't put anything in it yet. Dumb scene. Sitting cross-legged on hardwood floors, eating pizza at 11 p.m., watching wolves hunt on a phone screen balanced against footwear. But that was the happiest I'd been in as long as I could remember, because every single piece of it was mine. And nobody, not Brenda, not Arthur, not Noah, could take any of it away from me. This is the part of the story where things should get better. And for a while, they do. I'm working, saving, building something real for the first time in my life without anyone undermining me or calling me a burden for doing it. But here's the thing about families like this. They don't disappear when you start doing well. They come back because now you have something they want. I'd been in the apartment maybe a month. Was in the kitchen putting plates away, you know that thing where you move into a new place and for weeks everything's still in boxes and you keep eating off paper plates because you can't find where you packed the real ones? Yeah, I was finally getting around to that. The doorbell rang. Figured it was a package. I'd been ordering stuff all week. Pulled up the camera on my phone and my whole body just went cold. Brenda, Arthur, Noah, standing at my front door. All 3 of them. Like it was a family portrait from some alternate reality where they still had the right to show up at my home. I stared at that little screen for probably 30 seconds. Didn't move. Didn't breathe. And I'm not going to lie, my first thought wasn't anger. It was hope. This stupid, pathetic little flicker of hope that maybe they were here to say sorry. Maybe they finally realized what they did. Maybe this was the moment where everything gets fixed. I opened the door. Brenda didn't even say hello. She pushed past me into the apartment like she already lived there and started looking around. The living room, the kitchen, down the hallway, running her hand along the counter like she was checking for dust. I had a pot of chili going on the stove, I remember, because the whole apartment smelled like it, and she actually lifted the lid and looked inside. Wow, Caleb, you've really done well for yourself. This smile on her face that wasn't a smile at all. More like someone pricing out a house they're about to make a lowball offer on. Noah shuffled in behind her, looking uncomfortable for once in his life. Arthur came last, with his hands stuffed in his pockets. Same exact pose as the day they kicked me out. Literally the same stance. Some things never change, I guess. What are you doing here? I kept my voice flat. Didn't want to give them anything. Brenda turned around, fake smile still going strong. We're here to talk about living arrangements. I blinked. What? Arthur cleared his throat for the first time. We think it's time for the family to be together again. I actually looked around the room for a second. Like, genuinely looked around, wondering if I was being filmed. If this was some kind of prank show. You're joking, right? Brenda's smile evaporated, arms crossed. That cold face I'd seen 1,000 times growing up. No, Caleb. We've talked it over, and we think it's time we all live together again as a family. I stared at her. After everything. After throwing me out on my birthday without a conversation. After months of dead silence. After Noah calling me for money and getting shut down. Now they wanted to waltz into the apartment I busted my back to afford and just set up shop like nothing ever happened. Noah, of course, couldn't help himself. Come on, Caleb. Don't be so dramatic. That's all in the past. All in the past? 8 months ago. Like it was ancient history. Like I didn't spend my 28th birthday in a motel room watching a 20-minute infomercial about a vacuum cleaner while my belongings sat in boxes around me. Brenda must have seen something shift in my face because she changed tactics fast. We gave you the push you needed, she said, that cold edge back in her voice. Look at this place. Look how well you've done. You should be thanking us. Thanking them? Because apparently kicking your kid out on his birthday is good parenting if he ends up okay later. So what? You show up, take credit for my work, and move in? This is my place. I paid for it. Arthur tried the peacemaker thing. Caleb, be reasonable. We're struggling. You have space. You're only here because you need something. Where was all this family stuff when I was loading boxes into my car? When I was sleeping in a motel? Brenda's face twisted. We're your family, Caleb. We sacrificed everything for you. Sacrificed? Name one thing, Brenda. She didn't answer. You kicked me out. Didn't call for months. Threw me out like I was nothing. And now you think you're entitled to what I built. She opened her mouth, and I just kept going because I couldn't stop. I did this by myself. Every extra shift, every side gig, every night I collapsed into bed because I was working myself half to death trying to afford a life you tried to take from me. You don't get to waltz in and claim any of it. Noah's eyes rolled. His absolute default setting. Stop being so selfish, Caleb. We're just asking for a little help. Selfish. That word. I don't know. Something about hearing it come from his mouth specifically, after everything. Something snapped tight in my jaw. Selfish? You want to talk about selfish, Noah? You guys threw me out with nothing, left me with no plan, no place to go, and now you show up at my front door demanding a spot because you messed up your own situation? That's selfish. Not me standing in my own apartment saying no. Arthur, one more time. Voice soft, almost pleading. Caleb, please. We're just asking for a chance. Long breath. I looked at all three of them, standing in the living room I paid for, in the apartment I earned, after the worst year of my life, the year they gave me. I walked to the front door and opened it wide. Get out. Brenda shot me this look full of pure hatred. Like I was the one who'd done something wrong. Then she said it. Fine. If you want to be difficult, we'll take legal action. We have rights, you know. Legal action? For what? For the apartment I bought with my own money after they kicked me out of their house? Go ahead and try. This is my home. You have no right to it. You're not moving in. Not now. Not ever. They left. Brenda first huffed her way out like I'd personally offended her by saying no to being used. Arthur shuffled behind her. I could see on his face he wanted to say something. Didn't though. Never does. That's his whole thing. Noah just gave me this look, this headshake, like I was the unreasonable one. Like I was crazy for not wanting the people who threw me out on my birthday to come live in my apartment. Then he walked out. The door closed. I leaned against it, stayed there for a while. My heart was going nuts, hands shaking. But also, and this is the part that's hard to put into words, I felt lighter. Like I'd been carrying this heavy, stupid thing on my back for years, and I just set it down on the floor. Or thrown it out the window. I don't know. It was a weird feeling, but a good one. After that, things got quiet. And honestly, I was relieved. But I knew deep down it wasn't over. Brenda had thrown out that legal threat. And even though I didn't think she had any real ground to stand on, the words kept bouncing around in my head, "We'll take legal action." What legal action? On what planet would a court give them rights to an apartment I bought with my own money after they kicked me out of their house? But still, it nagged at me. I called Julian, my lawyer friend. Told him everything that happened. He'd been loosely following the situation, but now that they'd actually shown up at my door and made threats, he got real serious real quick. We need to file a restraining order, he said. You've got enough to justify it. The threats, showing up uninvited, the whole pattern going back to the birthday. It's time to put something official between you and them. A restraining order. Against my own parents and my brother. I mean, 6 months ago, if someone told me I'd be filing a restraining order against my family, I would have laughed in their face. But 6 months ago, I also thought they'd never throw my stuff on the lawn and kick me out on my birthday. So, what do I even know anymore? We filed it. Julian handled the paperwork, the court dates, all of it. I just showed up when he said show up and answered questions when they asked me questions. Took a few weeks, but it went through. Done. They can't come near me. Can't call, can't text, can't show up, can't send somebody else to do it for them either. And if they try, real consequences. Not the fake threats Brenda likes to throw around. Actual legal consequences with actual penalties. I remember walking out of that courthouse, and I swear the air felt different, like physically lighter. Weird thing to say, but that's what it was. Then Julian told me something that made everything click. He'd been digging through public records, tax filings, court docs, whatever lawyers look at. And my parents were in way deeper than I knew. They'd been dodging taxes for years. Not like, oops, we forgot to file. Like, actively hiding money and faking documents. The IRS was already onto them. So all those years Brenda was making me feel like I was bleeding them dry. They were the ones creating the mess. They'd been digging a hole for years, and I was just the warm body with a paycheck keeping them from hitting bottom. Part of me wonders if that's the real reason they kicked me out. Not the space thing, not the you need to grow up thing, but because the tax stuff was about to blow up, and they didn't want me around when it did. I'll probably never know for sure, but it lines up almost too perfectly for it to be a coincidence. After the order went through, I started getting random messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Distant cousin, couple of my parents' church friends, some lady who used to live on our street that I haven't seen since I was 12. All the same passive-aggressive stuff. Heard you're not talking to your folks. Your poor mother is heartbroken. Family is everything, Caleb. Turns out Brenda and Arthur were running a full campaign, telling everyone I abandoned them, that I was ungrateful and selfish. The same people who threw me out playing the victim. That stung, because some of these people believed it. I wanted to fire back at every message. Tell the whole story. But Julian shut it down. Don't touch it, Caleb. They want you reacting. They want you looking unhinged so they can point and go see. You don't need to prove anything to people who weren't there. He was right. Still sucked, but he was right. Weeks went by. Restraining order held. The IRS thing caught up to them exactly like Julian said it would. Heard through my cousin, she's literally the only family member I still talk to, and even that's like once a month, if that my parents are dealing with serious tax stuff now. Owing money they definitely don't have. Arthur still hasn't found real work. Noah dropped out of school. The house is apparently falling apart even worse than before, which I didn't think was possible, but here we are. I don't ask for updates anymore. And nobody volunteers them. Their names just don't come up, which honestly is fine. Better than fine. I spent 27 years being part of that family. And the only thing it got me was a lawn full of my stuff and a birthday I'll remember for all the wrong reasons. Anyway, their mess is theirs now. I got my own stuff going on. Things are good now. Like, actually good. Not the version of good where someone asks how you're doing and you say good, but you mean surviving. Actually, genuinely good. The warehouse job is solid. Marcus keeps loading more onto my plate, which means more hours and better pay. And honestly, I don't hate it. I like being the guy people come to when stuff needs figuring out. Makes the days go fast. I've been putting together this little office setup in the spare bedroom. Desk from a garage sale. Decent chair I splurged on because my back was starting to hurt from the cheap one. One of those clip-on lamps. I sit in there at night sometimes, just because I can. Not even doing anything. Just sitting in my room, in my apartment, because nobody's going to walk in and tell me I don't belong. Julian still checks in every couple weeks or so. Good dude. Last time we talked, he goes, "You did the right thing, man. They made their choices. You made yours." That's the whole story. And I appreciate that. I appreciate someone not trying to make it deeper than it is. I still think about them, though. Not going to sit here and pretend I don't. Usually at night, when the apartment gets real quiet and my brain starts wandering to places I'd rather it didn't go. I wonder if they think about that day. If Brenda ever pictures it from my angle, me standing in the driveway in my new shoes, staring at my stuff on the grass. 3 people on the porch who are supposed to love me, just standing there like they're watching a show. Probably not, but I wonder anyway. The anger doesn't stick like I thought it would. That surprised me. I figured I'd be mad forever, like that was just my default now, but it fades. Most days I don't feel it at all. Then randomly, something sets it off. I'll drive past a house that looks like our old place, or hear that Coldplay song, the older one everybody knows, but I can never remember the name of, and the whole scene plays in my head for like 5 seconds. Stomach drops, everything rushes back, but then it passes. And I'm just standing in my kitchen making eggs at midnight, or sitting on my ugly thrift store couch watching something dumb. Nobody calling me a burden. Nobody telling me I need a real job. I'm all right. For the first time in a really long time, I think I'm genuinely all right. Not fixed, not past it. Some days are still harder than others, but I'm all right. And yeah, that's enough. I mean, can you believe the sheer audacity? He spent years being the family's punching bag, keeping their whole world afloat, only to be thrown out like trash on his birthday. And then, when he's finally built a life for himself, they show up demanding a piece of it. Honestly, if this story resonated with you, or if it just made your blood boil like it did mine, I really want to hear what you think. Did Caleb go too far with the restraining order, or was it exactly what he needed to do? Do you think the parents ever truly understood the damage they caused? Let me know in the comments below. I'm reading every single one.